7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
All right, welcome into another edition of the Vegas Squares podcast. We are back after a 1-week hiatus. I was out of town and the operation just really couldn't go on.
Yeah, that was probably my fault, where I think you actually told me to try to record something and it completely slipped my mind.
Hey, I pay you for about as much work as you put in.
That's true. Payment reflects
I'm getting
effort.
full value, yes. So, but again, yes, we are back again after that 1-week hiatus. I was on vacation, but now we're back. And we're going to flip the script a little bit. I know that it's all Tom Brady speculation all over ESPN First Take and NBA playoffs and Giannis being a minus 2,000 favorite to win the MVP. Whoopity freaking do. But in light of, we talk about these GOAT conversations in sports. Not us necessarily, but that's always the LeBron versus Michael. Who's the baseball GOAT? It's such a different dynamic sport.
Yeah, and especially when you look at the difference between pitchers and hitters
and steroids and
the steroid errors and everything else. I think it wouldn't. He wouldn't
have to go with hitter and pitcher. Right?
Yeah, and I think he wouldn't get a majority of the votes, but I think he would get the largest number. Would be Ted Williams.
Okay. Wait, he wouldn't get a majority of the votes, but he'd get the largest number.
He wouldn't get over 50, he wouldn't get over 50%, is what I'm saying. So he wouldn't get.
If you polled people today, you think he would be the greatest baseball player of all time?
Yeah, I think somewhere, because you could make arguments for guys like Ty Cobb, Mickey Mantle, Roger Maris. You can make arguments for even like modern day guys.
Because my vote would go to Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah, Ken Griffey Jr. would be up there.
Barry Bonds, Hank Aaron.
I'm sure somebody would say Hank
Mike
Aaron.
Trout.
Somebody might say McGuire. Like,
if somebody says McGuire, I'd question him a little bit.
I would too, but I mean,
he was like a home run K. He was like home run or K.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're right. That's a tough one. But in hockey, obviously, where there's no debate.
Depends on who you ask.
Dude, when he has more points, like by like what? 1,800 or something like that?
If you take
he has more assists than anyone has. The next guy has goals or whatever.
He has more assists. If you took away his goals,
that's what it is.
800 and some odd goals.
Most points.
He would still have the most goals and assists combined, most points out of anybody that's ever played the game. Yes, no, I understand that. The reason, and this is the same argument that guys from Boston, because guys from Boston are always going to make argument for guys from Boston
or
Bobby Orr. They would say that Bobby Orr changed the position of the defenseman because he was an offensive-minded defenseman, which they had never seen in the league before.
Okay.
They had never seen a defenseman that had led the league in scoring or led the league in shots or been able to do those kinds of things from that position. It had never been done before. It's the same reason that my dad was still saying.
You can argue it hasn't almost been done again. If offensive-minded defensemen exist, but nobody to the likes of Bobby Orr.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And it's the same reason that my dad will say that Bill Russell is the better basketball player than Michael Jordan, because nobody played a defensive game like Bill Russell until he came around. He changed the game. They started tracking block shots because of Bill Russell as a stat. So that's the kind of argument that some people would
And you can always argue eras, because the argument against Bill Russell is, the talent level in the 50s and 60s was probably astronomically worse than it is now. But it may be more on par with the way he played.
Yes and no, because remember, guys like Havlicek, who were Hall of Fame players.
Kuzi was with him too, right?
Yeah, but Havlicek was a sixth man he was the first guy off the bench.
And he was a Hall of Famer.
He was a not starter, and he was a Hall of Famer. So to say that the talent level was
when
lower,
you have a team who won 11 championships in 13 years.
Yeah. Yeah, and then my dad's knock on Jordan was that aside from
6 years,
aside from Olajuwon, he didn't have to face any true big men that he would have to go up against. Like, nobody was really in his face challenging him.
Well, he never really went in the paint that much. He did, but I mean, he was an outside shot kind of guy. Anyways, before we get diving into another conversation, let's thank the sponsors here real quick. First, 12 Ounce Sports Radio, where we air every weekend. And you can catch us on Zynga TV on your Fire Sticks. Seat Giant, promo code 12-ounce sports for your discounted sporting event, concert, and theater tickets. The reason I bring up GOAT conversations is because actually one of those people who you talked about, like Wayne Gretzky not being the clear-cut GOAT, is another one is the Richard brothers. And one of them just passed away Friday. Henri Richard, who won 11 Stanley Cups during his tenure with the Canadiens. Obviously, more people know his brother. Do you know his brother?
Rocket? Of course.
Maurice Rocket Richard, who even has a trophy named after him. That trophy's, the Richard is goals?
It is...
I believe it's goals.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's goals.
So, he was one of the true giants of the game, to quote NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman, which, by the way, I saw him up close during my trip when we went to New York last week, which is why we didn't record. Went to a retirement ceremony, the first retirement ceremony I've ever been to for Islanders great Butch Goring, who was part of that those 4 cup teams of the Islanders in the 80s. And we were able to stand on near the glass. And so I had an up-close and personal vantage point when they announced Gary Bettman to go sit in his seat, and he was rained down with a thunderous boo, which he is everywhere.
Yeah, and he actually revels in it.
I think he does. I think the positives that he's outdone have been overlooked by there's big glaring black eyes.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I remember when the Golden Knights were announcing their name at that ceremony where everybody was standing, and he got booed. And when the boo died down, he said, "No, keep booing. It proves you're a real hockey city."
Yeah, there you go.
So he likes being not the bad guy, but he likes kind of being the target of those boos because it shows that people are paying attention, and if they're booing, that means they're passionate about the game, and he appreciates that.
And he's not the only commissioner to get booed, actually.
Oh, no.
So, Richard played in 1,256 regular season games, a Canadian record. Canadiens record, not a Canadian, the country. But 358 goals, 1,046 points, which is third in team history behind Guy Lafleur and, I forget his first name, but Bellevue. Jean? Is it Jean Bellevue?
Jean-Luc, maybe?
Jean-Luc Bellevue. But either way.
French fucker, who knows?
French fucker. They're all French fuckers. Anyways, so with that, I thought we'd switch gears here from all the where's Tom Brady going to go, is anybody going to beat Giannis in MVP? Let's talk some hockey this podcast.
All right.
And obviously, like you said, we're in a hockey city, and the Golden Knights' expectations, in my opinion, are far higher than what I believe this team is. I think this team is a really good team. I have a hard time, like you said, off the air. They're 4.5 to 1. Are they the favorite, or the Bruins the favorite?
They are the favorite to win the Stanley Cup at 4.5 to 1. The Bruins are sitting at 6 to 1.
And I think actual value, they're not.
No, God,
favorite.
No.
But because we're in Vegas,
it's because we're in Vegas, and because the Pacific Division is such trash that Vegas is really theoretically. Really, the only challenge they're going to have in the playoffs is in the Western Conference Final. And I think that's the mindset of people thinking that they can get past whoever.
They could have a wild card issue, too, if a team from the Centrals, and if they play a team from the Central as well.
True.
I mean, if the playoffs ended or started right now,
it would be Vancouver that they'd play.
Correct. Well, that's the Pacific, yeah. So.
Well, let me see. Actually, it's Vancouver and Winnipeg both sitting with 76 points.
Yeah, Vancouver has the first wild card spot based on ROW, excuse me.
Winnipeg would play St. Louis, Vancouver would play Vegas.
Correct. So if something were to change, actually, looking at it, I don't really fear Minnesota too much, and they're actually 1 point out of the playoffs. I would not have said that at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. Actually, the one that's surprising me the most right now is Arizona sitting out of the wild card spot. They're sitting in the... Actually, they're 3 spots out of the wild card.
Yeah, but 2 points.
Yeah, I mean, right.
It's a tight squeeze there.
It's very tight. It's very, but I thought they were going to, if not win the division, be right at 1 or 2.
I know you were talking about that at the beginning of the year. And I think Edmonton's scarier than you're giving them credit for. To be honest with you.
No, I didn't think they'd be able to get their goaltending and defense together, and more power to them for that. Calgary is, a little bit worse than last year, but still scary, and they can still make some noise. So the Pacific Division is, but again, this is all Pacific Division. Like Vegas is leading the Pacific Division with 82 points right now. That would be, let's see, they would be tied for third in the Central. They would be in
and they would
third
be
in
the first wild card.
Third in the Atlantic, and they would be.
Well, yeah, they'd be third in the Atlantic, and they would be
and then
in the wild card.
Yeah, fourth in the Metropolitan, so first wild card. So, not a super strong showing right now from Vegas. And do you remember what their futures point total was at the beginning of the year at the Westgate?
I have the under. At the Westgate, I don't know, but I have the under on William Hill, and I'm going to look it up right now because I'm pretty sure it was 103.
Yeah, that's what it was at the Westgate too. 103 and a half.
And I took the under.
As
on
did
it.
I fucking hammered the under.
I'm curious to see now. But the Atlantic Division you talked about has the two best teams. You think?
You could make an argument for Washington being in that conversation too, but yeah, Boston and Tampa. Especially with Tampa losing Stamkos.
He's getting that core surgery to get himself. What do you call it? Ready for the playoffs, I guess you could say.
I was just going to say, what else would you call it aside from ready for the playoffs?
Yeah, I'm still trying to look up that. Yeah, so 103 points is what I have.
Okay. Yeah, Westgate threw in the hook, but yeah, I mean the under.
I still feel okay.
The under was going to be safe, so.
Yeah, I also have the Jets. I just looked at this too of my open bets. I have the Jets and the Blackhawks both at 100-1 when they shit the bed, so I'm hoping Winnipeg sneaks. Chicago has an outside shot, but. When Winnipeg was looking real shitty earlier in the year, they both were 100-1, and I took Chicago as maybe they would do something, and Winnipeg looks like they may sneak into that second wild card, and then anything's possible at 100-1.
Oh yeah, and
playing St. Louis,
that's not a bad bet to take, and Winnipeg isn't a great team. They basically have an entirely new defense compared to what they had last year, but Hellebuck, oh my God, is he playing well. I picked him up in fantasy just because I, thought that he would be good. Well, yeah, and my team blows this year, but I thought that he would be good. I thought that he would be solid, reliable, everything else. I think he's the favorite to win the Vezina right now.
I think that, if that's going to be the case, they got to make the playoffs, though, right? No?
I mean,
I think it's going to be Tuukka Rask.
Tuukka's up there for sure, but I mean, Hellebuck is taking an atrociously bad team, and they are a playoff contender right now. They have a -9, or no, they +9. Yeah, they're +9 in goal differential, but they're the only team. Let's see, yeah, they're way up there for the ability, and they are just not scoring goals. They have 208 goals. They have the fewest goals scored for any team in the West that is about to make the playoffs, and they are still hanging in there because of Hellebuck.
And that's fair. I mean, it's a good resume booster, I guess you could say. I mean, Tuukka 2.13 goals against average and .928 save percentage on a team where actually I think the thing that might hurt him is Halak playing well as well.
Yeah, and they're not a true starter and backup. They're going kind of 1A, 1B.
Yeah, I think the reason they're doing that is because of what happened last year in the finals. It seemed he got just too burnt out.
Yep.
Speaking of 1A, 1B, back to Vegas here.
Yes.
Obviously, we haven't talked about hockey for a long time on the podcast, but Vegas now has a 1A, 1B kind of situation here, and I don't want to base a lot off of just a couple of games, but it seems the fans are going to do that, and there was a poll on Twitter last night while I was at work
that I voted in.
Not the Sin Bin one, or there was a follow-up poll?
Yeah, no, this is the Vegas Watch one.
Yeah, the Vegas Watch. So the Sin Bin one, after I think 2 games of the trade, had Fleury. Now, it could have changed. The poll might still be open, but I think it had Fleury at basically 70-30.
Okay.
Just if you were to go with a goalie in the playoffs. Well, after that performance against Winnipeg, that number moved to 60-40 Leonard.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking one game. And that's what scared me when they made that trade was not necessarily the fans, but, I think McCrimmon came out and said, we talked to Fleury about this, blah, blah, this, blah, blah, that, but you bring in a guy, it doesn't matter. Fleury's seen this video before.
Yep.
I mean, Matt Murray.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And And, this is another conversation for another day, but this is part of the reason why I don't think Fleury's a Hall of Famer, is that he already lost the starting job once, and he has the potential to do it again if Leonard's playing well. The question is whether or not, and how the Knights are going to go forward, not only for the rest of the regular season, because it sounded like Pete DeBoer just basically said that he would shuffle, one in, one out, one in, one out, one in, one out, and just, flip it back and forth game by game. It's who's going to be the starter in the playoffs. And with Fleury, for me, and actually the reason that I voted Leonard in that poll, the Knights Watch poll, was simply because the way Leonard played throughout the regular season so far with Chicago, playing very well on an atrocious team, and then coming into Vegas and playing very, very well against good teams.
1 goal and 2 starts, right?
2 goals and 2 starts.
2 goals and 2 starts.
Yeah, but
1 shutout.
And then Fleury, his last 2 games were the Kings, who aren't that good, and he gave up 4 goals, and the Jets, who are okay, like we said, they're probably a bad team with a really good goalie, and he gave up 4 goals against them.
And 20 shots.
Yeah, so it's, for me, I would feel more comfortable with Leonard starting in net. And then this is a good problem for Pete DeBoer to have, because now you can really have a short leash. If somebody gives up 3 goals on 10 shots, all of a sudden you yank them post haste.
Yeah, I mean, you would probably do that anyways and just punt the game. But now the question is when you bring in the other guy, you might still actually be in a game.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's huge for Vegas, for them to really try to make that deep run. I still think that fucking 4.5 to 1 is ridiculous.
Well, right, but I mean, Vegas isn't going to want to take a bath on anything after year 1.
Oh yeah, no, they're not going to punt for sure. But I don't know. It's a good problem to have. I liked the move of bringing in Leonard. I absolutely despised Malcolm Subban as a goalie. I thought he got just the worst rap here. He had the first season he played very, very well,
and that's the only season we saw him get extended reps, except for that stretch last year where everyone was hurt.
Oh yeah, but when he played in those stretches in the first season, he played well.
Right.
In the second season, where he had to cover for people that were hurt, he didn't. And when he played this year, he looked awful. He was regressing. And my problem has always been with Malcolm Subban is that he may be the most athletic goalie in the league. He is unbelievably athletically talented. It's all in his head. He can't get out of his own way. He gives up big rebounds, and as soon as he gives up 1 or 2 goals, he's lost it. It's just, he drove me crazy. I liked him as a person. He seemed like a good personality.
But he wasn't the goalie of the future.
The retweeting of the Squirters videos was hilarious.
What?
Oh, you didn't hear about that?
No.
He retweeted a video of women squirting, and it was
I didn't.
And then he never deleted it, and it was
He just let it marinate right
he's
there.
just like, all right, what am I going to do?
I mean, it's already out there.
Yeah.
That is a weird one.
Yeah, so, I kind of appreciated that quirkiness, that goofiness. I liked that, but I just, it was time for Vegas to move on from him.
So speaking of moving on next season, Robin Leonard's an unrestricted free agent.
Yep.
And after this short little tenure right here, he's now the new fan. I wouldn't say he's the only fan favorite. People still love Fleury. I just think that it's funny, now that Subban's gone, people have turned their pitchforks to Fleury.
Yeah, and,
as a goalie who makes $7 million over the next 3 years, who may, depending on how you view him, show signs of regressing himself.
Yeah, and, he's showing signs of regressing. I had a conversation with Jesse Granger from The Athletic on Twitter, and when we were arguing about whether or not Fleury is a Hall of Famer, one of his points was that because teams know how well Fleury can play, that they are more likely to play aggressive in front of him because they figure that Fleury can bail them out if they make a mistake. And I think we're seeing that a little bit where the team is playing a little more aggressively, a little more, kind of pushing the issue a little bit, and then they're relying on Fleury to make saves. And what that looks like to the fans is that Fleury's not getting the defensive support. They're not getting the pucks cleared out in front of the net, and that Fleury just can't do it all on his own, which is probably true at this point.
Well,
in
it's
his
hard
career.
for most goalies to do that.
Right. But, for me, it's, it's tough for me to say we have somebody that's really, really good in Robin Lehner who is playing a style that really looks very low effort and low energy when it's really just about conserving that kind of energy. Whereas Fleury is out there playing super aggressively, and it's a very, very different style. I think Lehner's is probably better long term, especially if he's younger. And
Like 5 or 6 years younger.
Yeah, and for me, it's. I think the fans have to be careful what they wish for if they want Lehner, because part of the appeal of Fleury is his smile, how outgoing he is, when he's kind of like the aw shucks guy for
And
the
Robin
media.
Lehner's the complete opposite.
Robin Lehner, if he never had to stand in front of a microphone again, he wouldn't.
Well, I think because of the mental health issues he's gone through, it's
no.
probably one big key.
It's completely understandable for Lehner. Like,
I know a
I'm not
lot of
shitting on him.
people, despite how well he's played, have turned their back on him after the donut fiasco, where he took his stick and slapped the inflatable donut across the ice. A lot of people were turned off by that. But anyway, coming to dollars and cents here, again, UFA for Lehner. Fleury, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, has 2 more years after this at $7 million each.
Just looking it up, but I think you're right. And he's got a modified no trade clause.
Also true.
10 teams.
The question remains, and it's been talked about on Twitter here by the local hockey guys, is there a way to keep both? Especially when the salary cap is expected to go up to at least 86, possibly 88 million.
Yeah, so I think with the increased salary cap, it's certainly a possibility. But I think moving forward with the 2 goalies, if that's what they want to do, they'd have to get Robin Lehner to agree. And the rumor has always been that he didn't like the 1A, 1B situation that he had with
New York,
with the Islanders. So Robin Lehner wants to start, and he wants to be paid like he's starting. So I think in order to do that, you're going to have to convince him, hey, we're going to sign you to this deal. You'll be in a 1A1 situation, 1A, 1B situation for a year, maybe 2, and then you're the guy.
Yeah, but then he's 30.
Yeah, and if that's the case, then, does he want to do that? Does the team want to do that? I don't know.
And especially in a city like Vegas, okay, hey, take $5 million now and we'll give you $8 million when you're the guy. Well, if that's 3 years, that's $9 million off the table, minus just, with no state income taxes. He's giving back potentially $9 million, and in 3 years he might not be good. Yeah, but I'd really like to see it happen, but I just don't. I don't think it's going to happen. Therefore, now you really have to make a decision. Will anyone take on Marc-Andre Fleury's contract?
Yeah, and that's a mighty good question. I mean, obviously he's still got something left in the tank. It's just that's a lot of money to give to a 36-year-old next season goalie. Obviously there's some money coming off the books with Vegas this year. Obviously Engelland,
Reeves, Merrill.
Merrill's gone theoretically. They got a handful of restricted free agents that they can hang on to, which they may or may not choose to do. I think if they want to keep both Fleury and Lehner and make it a true 1A, 1B, and they still want the salary cap space, and Vegas fans are going to hate me for saying this.
Okay. I was going to try to guess what you were going to say, but I don't think I would be right. But I'll guess anyway.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I don't think this is right. I'll preface that.
Okay.
My opinion is they got to find a partner for Stastny. They got to trade Stastny.
Oh, right idea, wrong player.
Pacioretty?
Tuck.
Yeah, I would say you trade. If you can get somebody to take Stastny, what's that? 6.2,
Six and a half. Yeah,
$6.5 million versus Tuck, who's 4.8.
Yeah, but I think,
I'm not ready to give up on Tuck yet, even though he's an injury. Like he's a fucking trip waiting to happen.
Oh, I'm
trip and injury waiting to happen.
Tuck and Glass. I'm at the point where I'm just like,
you're done with Glass already?
I'm done with. Part of my problem with Glass,
which is really bad on McPhee's legacy because Suzuki's already in the pros. and Brandstrom's already in the pros, and they're both playing.
Brandstrom's kind of been up and down this season, but Suzuki's like second or third for rookie assists this year. The fact that we gave up Suzuki instead of Glass drove me fucking crazy from day one. I despised the fact that we traded Suzuki, even though we got Pacioretty back for it. So we can say that Pacioretty is a better player than Nick Suzuki.
But not only that, who knows what Tatar would have been? Look what Tatar's doing in fucking Montreal.
Exactly. So
you got Tatar and Suzuki.
And
Glass hasn't panned out yet.
With, say, Tuck or, maybe even Eakin fucking thrives with those guys on that line. Like, you find a way to put that third line together better, and I think it's much better served with Tatar and Suzuki than with the other guys. So that was what drove me crazy. But, yeah.
How much of a pass is George McPhee getting from year one?
Oh, quite a bit. I think fans would be much angrier if they hadn't gone as deep as they did. Obviously there are some rumblings that people aren't happy with the way that the team performed last year, third place in the division, first round exit. This year, obviously, they're looking better because they're first place in the Pacific, but I think that's a product more of...
They might finish with the same amount of points.
Yeah, well, I think it's more the product of the division being shit this year as opposed to anything else. It's again... And, when the Sharks are as bad as they are, then all sins are forgiven, so people are kind of like, hey, we're making the playoffs, the Sharks aren't, that's good enough. There's some wiggle room, I think, for him there. But, I think you can't go into the playoffs with, 1.5 week defensive pairings and 2 week forward lines and expect to go far. It doesn't happen. So I think the team kind of needs to be retooled.
So the one guy I wanted, and Sinbin, told me I'm crazy. I don't know why. We'd have to give up too much for him. And then when I saw what was traded, I kind of got a little angry. But the one guy I really wanted was Pajot for the Vegas.
Really?
Yeah, especially if he was going to play. If you could move him to second or even third line, Stastny down to the third line, I think you could have had 3 formidable lines plus the Ryan Reeves line. I hope that whole line's gone next year, except for Carrier, by the way, for what it's worth. I hope Nosek and Reeves are both gone. I like you said with Subban, I like Reeves as a person. He seems like a nice guy. He's a fan favorite. Although Subban wasn't, but for what he's paid, Carrier does the exact same thing for now half.
Yeah, I know Nosek's a UFA.
They both are, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Reeves. Yeah, I'm with you on Reeves. Nosek. If they kept him around, I'd actually be okay with it.
If they kept Reeves around at Carrier's old contract money, which I think is like $725.
Yeah, $725 this year.
I could live. Yeah. But he's what, 2.9?
2.775.
2.775.
It's big number. It's probably too big for somebody of Reeves' ability.
Yeah.
But with Nosek, the reason that I don't mind keeping him is that he can play both center and wing. He can, he's not great in the face-off circle, but for a fourth-line center, I think that's fine. If they swap him and
he doesn't kill either.
If they move Wah up to third line, I think that's okay. You're right. But the reason I like Nosek is that he reminds me a lot, and this is a blast from the past, he reminds me a lot of a Trot Nixon type player. I know it's a ridiculous comparison, but think about it. They play the game as hard as they possibly fucking can. Every game, every shift, he's out there and he's taking brutal hits. Like when he goes behind the net, he's always getting hit when he's trying to make a play.
All right, well, if you want to get technical with that, we should have kept Bellemare.
Oh, yeah, we definitely should have kept Bellemare. But I think for Nosek, I would be okay keeping him, especially at short money, because he's not asking for a ton. He probably wouldn't get it anyway, but I don't know. I like him. Plus, Nosek's always going to be the answer to the trivia question.
Who scored the first goal in T-Mobile history?
Yep.
Yes, it's true. But he won't be the goal. Who scored the first goal in Vegas Golden Knights history?
No, he's already gone.
Do you know who scored the first?
Yeah, James Neal.
Do you know who scored the second?
James Neal.
Okay. That's the better trivia question. You know who scored the first? Yes. Do you know who scored the second? Ooh.
Including preseason, do you know who got the first Golden Knights hat trick in team history? It was in the first preseason game the Golden Knights ever played.
Yeah, his name is Wong.
Yeah, Tyler Wong.
Tyler Wong, yeah. I couldn't think of his first name. Is he still? He's not even in the team either.
I don't know where he is. Look him up.
There you go. So back to, do you believe both goalies will be here next year?
No.
Which goalie do you think's gone?
I think Leonard.
Yeah, unfortunately, I do too.
Yeah.
But back to Pageau, I think he would have made a better, especially signing an extension. I think he signed for right around Marchessault money.
Ah, okay.
Speaking of that line from year one, Smith, Marchessault, and Carlson.
Yeah.
I think we can rule one out, but who do you think's gone first?
Carlson.
Oh, that was the one I ruled out because of an 8-year extension.
They gave him an 8-year extension, and he has produced fuck all since then.
He's going to get 20 goals this year.
Smith's the more important player on that line.
Well, I agree. I actually thought Marchessault would be the first one to go.
Yeah, and it's a possibility, but Carlson to me is one-hit wonder. He just hasn't produced like we thought he would consistently. And
in fairness, not to toot my own horn, he is producing exactly how I thought he would, which is why when everybody was like, give him $7 or $8 million, that's what a 40-goal scorer gets, I was like, pump the mother brakes.
Yeah. Tyler Wong playing with the Kunlun Red Star of the KHL.
There you go.
Yes.
Over there getting coronavirus.
Yeah, probably.
So it's just, I don't know, to sum up Vegas, while Vegas may have him as a betting favorite, I don't believe the sportsbooks actually believe that.
No, and that, yeah, you're right, and that's part of the thing too. Is with Vegas being in the league, Vegas fans are always going to bet for their hometown team.
Do you think that'll be the same with the Raiders?
And probably, but I think especially with the Golden Knights that it's moving the line way down, and that it's kind of skewing the books are always about trying to get money on all sides of the bet or whatever else. So for the futures, it's driving the price down. But they're not good enough to win. Like Colorado at 10-1 is probably a better bet than Vegas at 4.5-1.
That's fair. What else from the trades just around the league did you see that actually you think could make a really big difference?
I loved what the Bruins did getting Kaja and Ritchie.
Yeah, from the Ducks, right?
Yeah, and in 2 separate deals too. I think Kaja is a. I loved him when he was on the Ducks. I actually almost bought his jersey when he was on the Ducks, so I'm definitely gonna have to get one for him on the Bruins. Fast player, still young, still learning the game, and with a team with a much better supporting cast around him, I think he has the potential to put up a ton of goals, ton of points. I think this is a kid to definitely watch out for in Boston. And Ritchie, he's another good, solid, third, maybe probably fourth line type guy that can go out there. And, he dropped the gloves in the Bruins last game. And, that was based on what he saw as a dirty hit on Kaja. So he's the new Sean Thornton for this team. He's the one protecting his teammates. He's going out there and, cracking skulls. And I appreciate guys like that, especially ones that, have the pedigree of Ritchie. So I'm happy with it.
Yeah, most definitely. It's, like I said, the trades, there wasn't a ton of trades that, really... A lot of names moved. I thought Vatanen and Shea going from New York and New Jersey over to Carolina definitely is going to help them make the push.
Yep.
The one where Barclay Goodrow went to Tampa, I was okay with the player. Not sure if a first-round pick is worthy of a guy like Barclay Goodrow, but they're going to be picking low.
I was going to. That's exactly the point I was just about to make for Tampa.
And it was a trade. It was a first-round pick they shouldn't have got because they got a first-rounder from Vancouver for JT Miller.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that Kreider didn't move. I think that was the other one that kind of made me wonder what was going on.
The crazy thing is he didn't move, signed an extension, and I think he broke his foot the next game.
Broke his ankle.
Yeah. That's like a kind of a roller coaster ride there.
Yeah. And what? Oh, the other one, former Vegas player Eric Haula, who people were upset got moved, even though I think they're starting to warm to Nick Waugh, who was the return for that trade. Haula is now with Florida, and I was a little surprised.
There's also rumors that he may come back here in the offseason. That would reduce price.
That would be interesting.
I don't dislike Nicholas Waugh, but I think if I had the choice, I'd take Haula on the.
Oh, absolutely! I think everybody on the planet
unfortunately.
would, yeah.
and I've said this, and I'll continue to say this, the story of this season, if they don't win the Cup, is going to be they decided that Nosek, England, and Reeves were more important than Haula and Bellemare.
And Gusev.
And Gusev,
Yeah. Yeah.
That's going to be the storyline of this season if they don't hoist the Cup.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, like you said, think if you were able to find the ability to... I mean, think about how White Cloud's been playing all year. If you'd have just had him up and let England walk, because England's what, 1.5?
No, well, base is like 700 or 750.
But he has a 35-plus contract, right?
But he's got a bunch of performance incentives, and,
Right.
if he gets a certain number of goals, certain number
Which
of
he's
points,
not.
certain number of games played, and he's been scratched every game, which makes me so happy.
Yeah, put him in the front office. But, yeah, I mean...
Well, supposedly, and not to sidetrack this too much, supposedly he's going to be either coach or assistant coach of the AHL team they're bringing to Vegas.
That would be cool. Speaking of, are you going to get tickets for that?
No.
No?
No, I asked the wife if she wanted to, and she said she can't handle going to even more games.
Really? She not like
Yeah.
going to the games?
Oh, she loves going to the games. She just
That's such a load.
Yeah, the scheduling
She
is too much.
Fair enough. I'm going to look into them. So maybe one day when you're not feeling the NHL team, if they're playing on the same day, we'll switch.
All right.
So back to the Atlantic here.
Yeah.
And I know we sidetracked off the conversation, but it wasn't that. My point being is that I've said it from day one of this season, back to the Vegas. So we'll sidetrack to the sidetrack. If they don't hoist the Cup, I will blame the fact that they kept Reeves, Nosek, and Derek England over Bellemare, Gusev, and Eric Haula.
Yeah.
Could you imagine the three lines that they would put out with what the two they have now, and then even if Gusev... Wait, would you have Gusev, Waugh, and Tuck if he was healthy, or Gusev, Glass, and Tuck?
Yeah,
Glass
well-
and Haula?
Or, it could break a different way. You put Haula on, first or second line, and then you move Stevenson down to the wing on third line, assuming that they still make that deal mid-season this year.
Yeah, that's true, too. They may not make that deal.
But
you can definitely tell how much Mark Stone means to that team, too.
oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, everybody say they overpaid him at nine and change, and you can definitely tell what he does. More than just the goals.
Yeah.
So back to you talked about the Eastern Conference.
Yes.
In the Atlantic, a lot of people don't believe Toronto, despite being a playoff team, is a contender. I
No.
don't know if I necessarily would rule them out immediately.
I think So the problem with Toronto right now is that they're sitting third in the Atlantic, which is fine, except that they're third and they are nearly 20 points behind Boston and a full 10 points behind Tampa Bay. So for them to have such disparity between themselves and the teams leading them in the standings, is going to be difficult.
Who do they match up with the best? Because theoretically, at this point, it might behoove them to fall into the second wild card and play Washington if that's the team that matches up better than them. Who do you think matches up? Who do you think they match up best with? Tampa, Boston, or the Capitals? Well,
No.
Well, let's just say the season ended with the Capitals winning because they are actually tied with Philadelphia for the Metropolitan lead.
Right.
But let's just say the standings hold at this point as far as the leaders in the two divisions. They are currently tied with Columbus for the wild card spot with 79 points. Islanders with 78 points. Again, who do you think that Toronto could match up the best with?
I don't know that they can beat any of these teams. I think Philadelphia is actually the best chance to win because, we've seen them play Boston year in, year out. They can't get past Boston. I think Tampa Bay, if Stamkos isn't healthy or if he's not 100%, maybe that gives them a chance. But Toronto doesn't have the defense or the goaltending to beat Ovechkin. They don't have the ability to stop him. They don't have the ability, they don't have the knowledge enough to stand where Ovechkin stands in his office there and block that one-timer. I don't think they can do it. I think Philadelphia is probably the team they match up with best. The problem with Philly is that they still are playing really good defense, and Toronto has to be able to get their top line out to beat Philly. Now, we've seen teams that only have one or two good lines go deep into the playoffs, but what that means is that these forwards are playing 20-plus minutes a game, which is just unsustainable. And we saw that in Vegas' first year when they were in the playoffs. They played Winnipeg, And by game 3, you could see that top line with Wheeler or Line and I forget who was the other wing on that one. But that line was gassed. They had nothing left in the tank because Maurice overused them. And the fact that they made it to the third round is probably more testament just to the players' sheer will and spite rather than actual physical ability. So I think that would be a very difficult matchup for Toronto, even if they got past Philadelphia. I don't see them going any further than the second round.
Yeah, Philadelphia's come out of nowhere for sure, too.
Yeah, it's unbelievable what they're doing.
8-game winning streak's obviously huge.
Yeah.
All right, I'll make you a bet here.
All right.
I'll bet you $5.
Okay.
I'll let you have your pick. I'll let you have first pick of the division that you believe will win the Stanley Cup.
Oh.
But then I get the next 2 picks and you get what's left.
So you're going to stick me with the Pacific at the end is what you're telling me.
Maybe, maybe not.
All right. Do I want the Atlantic or the Central? Atlantic or the Central? Atlantic or the Central? I got to go with the Atlantic.
All right. I'm actually going to give you the Pacific.
Yeah. I figured that was coming.
All right, so for $5, I got Metro and Central, and you got Atlantic and Pacific. That's easy to remember, too.
Yeah.
You got the Ocean Conference.
Yeah, and it's. It was real tough because I think Colorado's playing a lot better than anybody's given them credit for. Dallas can make some noise if they can get their shit together. Plus, I've got them.
2 good goalies there too.
Plus, I've got them to win the Central Division as a futures bet, so I'm hopeful that they can pull that off. They're 8 points back of St. Louis right now with a game in hand.
That's going to be tough with 15 games left.
But, yeah, I know. It's a tough.
They don't score enough.
Yeah, they really don't, which is a little surprising based on that lineup, but.
Yeah, Ben and Sagan are down this year. I mean, still got decent numbers, but not for what their expectations are.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be interesting. I can't wait. Obviously, when the playoffs rear up, we're gonna talk more hockey. But yeah, I no Nate Wall this week. I figured XFL talk would be out the window because we've been watching. I don't want to use sparingly because that's not the right word, but I've caught about a game a week.
Yeah. I don't think I've watched a full game start to finish. I catch bits and pieces here and there. It's been kind of a madhouse for me because I changed jobs and.
I hear it's not going well.
The job itself is fine. The people are great. It's this I can go on this rant for hours if you want, but I don't know how many people out there.
I don't know if anybody wants to listen.
Use Workday as a system, as an HR system. I know a couple of the casinos in the area do. I don't know if all of them do, but it's fucking ridiculous. If they just put me in as a new person, fine. But I transferred from essentially one department to another, and 2 weeks in, I'm still not fully done. And it's just the process by which they have to get every little inch, like my title change, my salary change, my location change, everything has to be approved by a different person. And for a lot of people, it's just not a priority to do that.
Right.
But until then, I can't get business cards. I can't get my swipey card to get into the building. I can't get a key to my office. I can't get put in the phone directory. I don't have an email address. It's ridiculous. It's driving me fucking nuts.
And now that everyone's turned off their computers or their radios,
now we can give them the real picks of how we feel. Yeah. So, all right, now if you want real futures bets,
what do you like?
I don't know. Arizona at 40-1 to win the Stanley Cup. I know they're sitting out of the playoffs, but God, they're too good of a team to be sitting that far out of it. I think now...
Isn't that a testament? You just said the Pacific Division was dog shit, and they can't get into it.
Part of, Kemper missing, I don't know, dozen or 15 games with injury, it sunk them.
That's fair.
I think they gave up on Galchenyuk a little too early, but that's neither here nor there. Calgary sitting at 30-1 is probably pretty good value. Edmonton...
Even Pittsburgh gave up on Galchenyuk as well.
Yeah. Edmonton sitting at 25-1. Those are probably good bets. I would never touch Toronto, even though they're at 16-1. I think I'm reading that right.
Yeah,
which is that's ridiculous. I think some of the front runner like Colorado, St. Louis, Washington, they're all at 10-1. They all have good shots to win it again. I would bet them. Obviously I love Boston, but 6-1, the value is just not there. Same with Tampa at 7-1. Those bets don't make sense to me.
Any chance the Blues can repeat? They've been a solid team all year.
Yeah, and that's.
I would say, if anything, Binnington's maybe been their weakness, and it's not a diss on Binnington because he's actually been playing decent, but he hasn't been playing. Last year, Binnington. He
didn't play. Yeah, exactly. He's not playing last year, Binnington, and I think that's what they expected out of him.
He'll get it. I think he'll get it together.
He will. He sure will. But he's still.
A couple of fun ones. The Rangers are 50-1. They're 1 point out of the wild card. The what the hell is their name?
Oh my
Hurricanes.
God. There you
50-1. I kept wanting to say the Coyotes, but like you said, you already talked about them. I think the Hurricanes and Rangers, some of those teams can sneak in. The Blue Jackets right now are the first wild card, and according to William Hill, they are 65-1.
Yeah, and that
Jets 75-1.
Yeah, and those two teams, they will go the way their goalies go. Which you could maybe say about just about every team out there, but I think those two teams especially, they're relying on Elvis Merzblink, however the fuck you say his name.
Merzlinkins.
Yeah,
but Korpisalo's back too, so that's a nice platoon.
Yeah, so that's a good platoon. Hellebuyck being the only option in Winnipeg is going to hurt them long term, but I think they could definitely take a stab at it. I will say I did get into a Twitter fight with somebody who said that Malcolm Subban is the better goalie prospect than Elvis Merzblinkus. So that was a fun one.
Look, I like Malcolm Subban, but I'm not going to get ridiculous.
Yeah, which is the stupid. Actually, I'm going to tweet that guy right now and say, hey, remember when you were a fucking idiot?
Well, we're recording and making fun of you right now. Right now.
It's happening as we speak. It's just... I think you got to look for teams that have a... what's the right way to say that? A fuller roster than just relying on a good goalie platoon or a good goalie. I think there's
complete team.
Yeah, you need a complete team, and there are
5 of them.
There's
maybe.
Maybe. I mean,
but that's the beautiful thing about playoff hockey, though. I mean, we saw what happened last year.
Oh yeah, but I think this is Boston's to lose right now, and I know people said that about Tampa Bay last year, and we saw how well that worked out for them. But I think this is Boston's to lose, and they're just playing fantastic hockey, and I think part of that too. And I know people love to shit all over him, but it's a lot of Brad Marchand, and not just his offensive ability, but he has turned up his defensive game so much in the last 2 years that I think it's really, really, really helping him out.
Yeah, and when you look at it, they got 14 games left, and if they even win half of those, they're going to sit with, 112 points? I mean, that's a pretty good year.
Yeah, that's a good year.
So, yeah, I think there'll be some interesting spots, especially these teams on the bottom who are already playing playoff hockey. That's always the big key, is teams playing already in desperation mode. We got 15 games left,
Oh, yeah.
So... All right, let's put a bow on this one. So you're saying it's Boston's to lose?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make a pick here. Let me think. Who am I? At this point in time, as we talk more hockey going forward, I will take... Fuck it. You're going to go Homer. I'll take Tampa.
Wow.
I'll take Tampa.
All right.
It'll be fun. We're both taking the 6-1 guys at that point, so... Don't listen to us. Take the Vegas Golden Knights at 4-1. So, all right, let's put a bow on it. Thank the sponsors: 12 Ounce Sports Radio, Zingo TV, and SeatGiant.com. Promo code 12 Ounce Sports, where you can get your discounted concert event and sporting event and theater tickets. Well, I butchered that one. Hopefully, they still cut the check for us. For Spike, I am Aaron. We appreciate you listening. We will catch you next week. Good luck and Godspeed.
Good luck.
Good luck and good luck.